Morning. Welcome to London, Monday morning. Welcome to the last session, the last lesson in our 6-lesson sequence, Leadership Part 3, the team. I'm going to be talking about team dynamics today, amongst a few other things as well. I'm going to try and get in as much as I can to the lesson. Hopefully we'll wind up with a bit of conflict resolution as well, because I'm quite keen to see if I can squeeze that in at the end. First things first, if we could just get our mobile phones all switched off, and obviously make sure you have your pad and your pen handy so you can make some notes. You will need that today. You will need to make some notes today, definitely. And let's start the way we always start. Let's do a little pause. So get yourselves into a nice, comfortable position. Get your feet nice and flat on the floor. Get your hands so you can feel the sensation of your hands on your thighs as well. And do all those things that by now you've become very familiar with, because you've been doing quite a lot of meditation by this time. Hopefully, you will have been doing approximately 5 to 15 minutes every day, 5 to 6 days a week, for 6 weeks. Hopefully, that's the hope. Anyway, so by now you should know your position. You should know the position you can get into that feels comfortable, that you can do your meditation. So get into that position. Get your feet nice and flat on the floor, like I said, your hands on your thighs. Start feeling those points of contact. Remember, you're using your physicality, you're using your body, your mechanism to create focus, to help with focus. So let's do that. And remember, if you can, while you can meditate with your eyes open, it's much, much easier to do with your eyes closed. So let your eyes close down. And again, if you breathe in through your nose, remember the reason we breathe in through our nose is because there's a nerve in the nose that connects directly with the heart. So it's the easiest way for us to become instantly physiologically aware of our breathing. And just allow yourself to watch your breathing. Allow yourself to observe your breath gently entering the boundaries of the body, and allow yourself to observe the breath gently exiting the boundaries of the body, and to really try to look at it as though you're a child, perhaps looking at it for the first time. Really see if you can just let go a little bit and really let your breath do its thing. You'll notice in this seated position that you need very little of it. In fact, you'll notice that your breathing will naturally lengthen and will naturally deepen and will naturally slow. So what I'd like to do is just like to time 60 seconds, and I'll try and mute myself so you don't actually hear me, and we'll see if we can just do a nice 60-second pause here. So if you get distracted, remember the trick is to simply allow yourself to be distracted just long enough for you to note what you're being distracted by, and then once you've noted what you're being distracted by, then bring all of your attention and all of your awareness back to the breathing. So here we go, we'll do 60 seconds, and I'll do it with you, I'll time it, and I'll try and mute myself so you don't get my background noise coming in. So here we go, 60 seconds, here we go. Right, that's really good. So just allow yourself to come back to clock time. You can wiggle your fingers, you can wiggle your toes, you can come back quick, you can come back slow. There's no rush here. Just allow yourself to come back in your own time. And I'm going to get straight stuck in, really. I want to talk about the team and team dynamics and mindfulness and mindfully managing a team. This is all really good stuff. And actually, you'll see that a lot of what we talk about today resonates with some of the stuff we did in Leadership Part 1, the self, and Leadership Part 2, the company. So you'll see how that sort of all links in together. I'm going to jump straight in and go to the keynote because there's some notes that I really want you to take. We're going to be talking about team dynamics. And this can be something as simple as showing leadership, or something as simple as getting to know your team, or something as simple as really bringing safety and stability to the team. A really good trick to show leadership, by the way, is to really prepare your task or whatever it is that your team are about to do, and really prepare perhaps a method to do it. And so the team can see that you put a lot of work and a lot of effort into the preparation, but then be prepared to change. So come and deliver this idea of how you want to proceed, and then ask the team for some feedback, and then immediately be prepared to change, immediately be prepared to change this big plan that you've made, which you spent a lot of time working on. That's a very sort of humble thing to do, and it's a very good way of instantly engaging the team, showing them A, that you're very prepared, showing them B, that you're prepared to adapt and change. So that's a really quick, easy method to show sort of leadership in that respect. So the first thing I want to talk about is getting to know the individual members of your team. Now, what you'll start to see is that your team is full of people who are stable and able. What you're going to try and do is look for the telltale signs of stability and ability. And what you'll notice is that a lot of these qualities are mindful qualities. A lot of these qualities you will by now have seen in yourself. So it will be easier to recognize these members of your team. The reason why it's important to do this is because eventually the whole team will, as you lead by example, and as members of your team lead by example, you'll find the team growing in that sense. They'll find that way that people will become more stable, become more able through example of the other members of the team. And remember, there may be varying degrees of stability and ability, but every single person in your team will offer something, Every single person in your team will offer something unique as well, because you're dealing with, obviously, individuals, you're dealing with people. And so it's really worth remembering as you get to know your team. Obviously, you've got to know all the names of the team. You've got to know a little bit about them too. You want to find out about them. An easy way to find out if they're stable or if they're able and stable is actually maybe to even find out if they're doing a mindful practice. That's also a sort of an easy and quick way to find out. If someone's doing quite a lot of yoga every week, then you know that they're probably quite sort of solid. It's more often than not would be the case. So I'm going to give you some key criteria that help you get to know your team. Now, look, these can be different for different teams. I've put some together that I really like, but you'll find that there are some that you like as well and that you value greatly, and I want you to include those. I hope you've seen throughout the course of this lesson webinar is that mindfulness for me is a very, very individual thing, as it will be for you. So you'll find that everything you do is very individual. You have your own way of doing things. Leadership, the self, is a very important part of that. You're bringing yourself out in your leadership, in your style. This is not a sort of leadership where you read from an instruction book or you read from pre-prepared statements. This is you. This is your leadership, okay? So it's your character. So just a few criteria for you to jot down that will help you get to know your team. Those people who can focus under pressure, of course, very, very useful. Those people who don't panic. Those people who are to maintain their focus under pressure. Also, those who have the ability to monotask. Now, that may sound strange, but actually there's an enormous weight of research that shows that monotasking is more efficient than multitasking. Now, of course, you try and tell that to a parent, they'll just laugh at you, but actually it's true. If you focus on one thing, then you actually get it done quicker. And part of the reason for that is because it takes so long to refocus after you've been distracted. So the ability for someone to focus on one thing and not be distracted by other things, that's a key criteria. Also, the emotional homeostasis thing. This comes down a little bit to not panicking, but I remember we were talking about the word no and the word yes. and how in the West we sort of become emotionally invested in hearing those words, where that's actually they're really illustrations of boundaries. That may be a little area that you could use to sort of gauge as to whether your team member has the ability to manage their feelings, the ability to somewhat take their emotions out of the equation, the ability perhaps to be emotionally stable. The other thing is to spot the telltale signs of knee-jerk reactions. You want people who, very often when we're presented with a task, we rush in to start doing it. We just want to get started immediately. I know I'm very guilty of this myself. We just crack on, and actually what can be extremely useful, extraordinarily useful, is to stop, is to hold, stop and think, and bring a sort of contemplative side to it, which is what we talked about in the first lesson, in fact, the taster, how you're bringing your contemplative side, your brain, your contemplative side to each equation. So look for those people who respond with contemplation. Also, I remember this study of the American Air Force, and they were trying to discover what the best pilots were like socially. And the initial theory was that the best pilots would be somewhat solitary. They wouldn't have much of a social life. In actual fact, what they found was that the best pilots were some of the most gregarious people. They were the people who had the ability to improve individual relationships. So bear that in mind when you're looking for that. That's also key characteristics. Also, someone who is self-sufficient, someone who's able to look after themselves. That's another key point. Someone who can exist and do things on their own. Okay, so that's another of those points. So look, get to know your team, all right? That's the thing. I want to point something out as well. A lot of those characteristics we just talked about, I remember Google, they did a collection of the sort of contributing factors among their strongest engineers, and they wrote down all these things, analytical ability, conceptual thinking, high achievement standards, ability to influence, initiative, and all that stuff, all those things. And if you look at those things, you look at those 6 contributing factors, actually we can put them into whether they're mindful things or whether they're analytical things. And you find when you do that 4 of these 6 qualities were mindful, sort of emotionally intelligent qualities. So when you're knowing your team, when you're getting to know your team, you can use that. You of course you want people who have analytical ability, and of course you want people who have conceptual thinking and those things. But some of the most important, in fact, most of the important characteristics of good team members are actually mindful qualities too. So just bear that in mind. I think that's a very, very useful thing to remember. I put this in because I thought it might be useful. I thought if appropriate, you could consider implementing a sort of mindful tool or practice within the team's routine. It's not going to work for every team unless they are already receptive to the sort of mindful practice. So that's an option. I would certainly think about putting a pause in before every meeting, but that's something you can gauge, and it may be something that you're, able to do very easily. But it also may be something that might not be received very well, so that's entirely up to you. Now, if you give yourself the time to know your team, you're going to use these techniques to do so. Remember that delegating is an art form. Lots of us find it difficult to delegate. We can't let go of responsibility. But remember what you're doing. You're giving responsibility to someone else. You're trusting someone else. Okay, so use those tools. Delegate. Allow someone to feel the responsibility you're giving them. Allow someone to feel the trust. Also, allow people to volunteer as well. Bring those in. And be mindful that some people are more confident than others. It doesn't mean they're more able than others. Okay, really, really important. They may be more confident, but they may not necessarily be more able. So do allow self-selection, do allow people to volunteer, but remember to mix everything up, always mix everything up. Get people to do things that they haven't done before, so you can really get to know your team. This is all about getting to know your team. I put that in, that the only way to trust someone is to trust them. It's very difficult. It can be very difficult to trust people. It can be very difficult for us to let go of responsibility, to give responsibility. But the only way you will find out about members of your team is by honoring them, respecting them enough to trust them fully and completely. If they get it wrong, I'd say they get another chance, easily get another chance. But if they get it wrong, it's information. All this stuff is information, valuable information for you, okay? So identifying areas of expertise is also another thing. So that's very useful. Some people will naturally have, or will, through training, have very specific areas of expertise, and that can be extremely useful too. So I'm going to move on now and try and get through this as quickly as I can, so I hope you're making some notes on this. The other one is growing your team. These are things that very simply grow your team. Every day you have to lead with a fresh eye. If there have been any issues or maybe some conflicts the previous day, you want to lead with a fresh eye. You want to lead freshly all the time. So if you have a sort of present moment perspective, you're not worrying about stuff that's happened in the past. You're not sort of stressing about things that could or could not happen in the future. But you're always taking that present moment perspective. Also, just to remember that the team, they're humans. They need breaks. You need to give your team a break. They need a break every 50 minutes. In fact, a human being needs a 10-minute break every 50 minutes. If they're not taking breaks, you might want to instigate that. You might want to keep those breaks coming. You might want to have people do those breaks every 50 minutes. Also, because you are a mindful leader, and because that's what we are generating here, mindful leaders in you, you will become sensitive to other people's emotions and their psychology, and that's also really important. If there are any issues, you want to go straight to the person. You want to talk immediately about those issues. You've got to allow yourself to be open and really constantly thinking about, constantly open to the way team members may be feeling. And the only way to truly know is to ask. So, of course, if you feel something, you ask, then you know. Creating certainty. Try to, as much as possible, create certainty by having people. Well, you know exactly what I mean by creating certainty, but also there is this aspect of creating certainty where you are showing that you have the ability to change as well. So I want to kind of balance those two as well. So by all means, have people doing similar things, maybe if there's a routine or a ritual which is serving the group, but also be able to mindfully manage change within the group, get people to do new things as well. So creating certainty as well. It's never useful to become angry in a team situation. Even if you have to give someone a bollocking, you can give them a bollocking by saying, right, I'm going to give you a bollocking now, and this is why, but you don't have to become angry. There's no anger involved. Anger is not very useful. People seeing you lose your emotional homeostasis does not lend you to leadership at all. So really removing that from the equation is absolutely essential. I talked about giving breaks earlier on. Celebrating success, very obvious, but it's a huge part of growing the team. You see people visibly light up when you say, well done, that's excellent work, thank you very much. All those positive things. Celebrate success, very, very important. And then lastly, I'm going to go through sort of stability, safety, and equality. These are the things that create stability, safety, and equality, and I want you to note these ones down. Obviously, with a team, you take the hit together. You take the wins together, you take the losses together. There's no one individual responsible, and you want to absolutely eliminate any aspect of that. Even if one member of the team has been ultimately responsible for some awful thing, the fact is you're a team. End of story. End of story. End of story, no discussion. You lose and you win as a team, and that's hugely important. I talked about this a little bit before, the present moment perspective. You're always in this present moment. You're always leading from right here, right now. You're not interested in dwelling on the past. You're not interested in stressing about the future. Fairness is very important. You may like someone socially more in the team than anyone else. You've got to actively make sure that person is treated the same as everyone else in the team. It's an active thing. It's a mindful, present thing. You've got to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, that no one sees that anyone's getting preferential treatment. That is an active, mindful position to take. That's extremely important. Also, to encourage autonomy and individual responsibility. That's also a key thing. And eventually you get to the point where the team becomes so strong that when you say, right, let's put our minds to it, or let's go, let's do it, the idea that the team is now involved in something. Perhaps you've got one task that's being done by one person. Perhaps that person is struggling for no reason other than the task is just too much for one person. Engaging the team in that has to bring confidence, has to bring certainty with the rest of the team. Reward also, I talked about a little bit before. The idea of bringing reward into everything can be something as simple as saying something, or it can be you actually buying or giving gifts or anything. So those aspects are really important too. So those are the areas that I wanted to really focus on. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to give you a little mindful practice. Now, if you've got headphones on which are connected to your computer, you might have to pull them out and put them down because you're going to need to stand up for this. We're going to do a mindful walk. Now, if for any reason your office is too noisy to hear the speaker on your computer, or if your computer doesn't have a speaker, you don't necessarily need to hear me, but you do kind of need to see me doing this because I want to show you how slowly you do a mindful walk. Okay, it's really important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do it right here in front of the screen here. You'll probably see me a little bit, and I'll just may go off the screen a couple of times. What you're going to do is you're going to come to a standing position, and you're literally going to close your eyes. You're going to close your eyes right down. You're going to do all those things that you do when you meditate. You're going to allow your breathing to take control. You're going to allow your breathing to lengthen and to deepen and to slow. And you're going to walk, but you're going to walk extremely slowly. Now, you're going to walk so slowly that if you encounter an object, you cannot be harmed by it. It won't harm you. And when you do encounter an object, you keep your eyes closed, but you'll simply turn to accommodate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk in this direction, and I'm going to show you the pace that you walk at. So if you can do this, you may not be able to close your eyes because you'll be watching me, but I want you to see that I am now actually moving. I am now actually walking. So this is the kind of speed that you will be going when you mindfully walk. And you'll be having your eyes completely closed, and you'll be literally feeling every single piece of your body, every single bit of muscle, every single bit of bone, every single tendon, everything moving. This thing that took you 2 years to learn how to do, almost 2 years to learn how to do, this thing that you do every single day that you take completely for granted, this mindful walk, this walking that you do. This is a very, very good exercise for you to see how to look at something again. Remember that word, respect. Respicere from the Latin, respicere, to look at again. So this is a very useful practice to do before the exercise that I'm going to show you in a second, how to know your team. Now I know, because I've been in this room before, that there's a glass wall coming up to meet me, but I also know that because I'm moving so slowly, that when I reach the glass wall, I simply touch it. I might even touch it with my nose, and can simply turn, and slowly, very surely, all the time monitoring my breath, allowing my breath to be nice and slow, nice and deep, and just gently walking. I hope you can see how slowly I'm moving. This is really crucial. The speed is really crucial. And with your eyes closed, this is all about balance. You start to feel how complex this simple thing that you do every day is. And this can be done, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. You can set your timer. But the key thing here is that you see how slowly I'm moving. So I really want to put that in your heads. So I may be slightly going off screen now. I'm going to try and turn around so you can still see me. My eyes are closed. I'm going to try and walk back. And of course you won't be talking, you'll just simply be breathing. Simply be feeling every single piece of your body. All those elements that come into play when you walk. And the nice thing about this is, again, it's all about looking at something again. Looking at something with a child's mind. Looking at something like you've never seen it before. So I've encountered the chair there, so I'm going to just make a little turn here. I'm going to keep walking. And before you do this, you might want to check there's nothing that could easily be knocked off or easily knocked over. You'll find that you're moving so slowly that it's very unlikely that you will knock anything over. And the funny thing about this is, when you open your eyes, you have no idea where you will be. Okay, so I think I've shown you the pace, which is the important thing. The fact that you have your eyes closed, which is also important. And when you finish doing that, you simply bring yourself back to clock time in the usual way. Open your eyes, stand still, open your eyes, look around you, and you'll find that that exercise is one of the best mindfulness exercises. In fact, that's the chair yoga and the mindful walking. Those are the two motion exercises. Lots of people can't practice unless they're moving, so I think that's also very interesting. Let me just show you quickly the exercises that we're going to do. There is, let's see now, there we go. Okay, so I'm putting this in, and I will actually also obviously send this to you as well. This is really, really simple. This is going to be one of the quickest exercises that you've done with us, okay? All about knowing your team. I would practice a mindful walk before doing this. That's the way I would do it. I would write down all the names of your team, and I would use some of the criteria that I have, and then add your own criteria as well if you want to, and just see if you can make sure everyone gets at least one, and try and get an example of each one. And so you're really getting to know your team, and if there's things you don't know about your team, if there are any aspects that you're not familiar with, then you ask. The only way you can find out truly is if you ask. And try and find out, and use questions that will reveal what you want to know. Okay, and as we said with leadership part 1 myself, because you're leading from your core self, you're automatically very sincere. You're automatically capable of humility. You're automatically capable of all these leadership things. So people will respond to that. Okay, so that's all. You just have to be very genuine and be yourself. That's the major thing. And then I wanted to get you to do a second part of the exercise where you get someone to do something again, perhaps that they felt they didn't do very well the first time. So I want you to try and find at least one member of your team and ask them to do something again that they did before, and give them confidence. Confidence is something you can give, right? You respect them and give them confidence. So let me just take us back here to the keynote for a second. I want to just really quickly do election things. Now, I'm sorry I'm kind of pushing through this, but I just thought conflict resolution is a very, very good thing to sort of discuss very briefly. So the idea with conflict resolution is ideally to be able to diagnose the problems before they occur. Now, I want you to make notes of this, just to jot these down, okay? So ideally you want to see all this stuff coming, and you want to be there when it comes. The first decision I make is to decide whether the conflict should be resolved in front of the team or just between the conflicting parties. If you resolve it in front of the team, obviously there have to be good reasons for that, and the team has to be receptive and sympathetic, and the parties have to be okay with that too. So, that's the other thing. I'm really touching on conflict resolution briefly, but I want to just make sure you get these few things down. It's always better to talk about stuff. It's always better to bring stuff up by verbalizing it, bring it to the surface. If necessary, you take people one-on-one with you and do it that way. And you'll be amazed how it unfolds something, how it brings out something. This is something that we rarely do. We sort of sit on things, don't we? And actually, mindfully speaking, the best thing to do is to actually go straight for the throat, find out what the problem is, talk about the problem, verbalize it, bring it out. The hardest thing to do sometimes is just to say the first sentence that brings it out. But that's the key point. Once you've said that first sentence, then it's beginning to unravel, and it gets easier and easier. So don't worry about that. Just say the first words that have then make the expression of the tension inevitable, if you like. Always request that people deliver only their perspective. This is such a key thing. They're using the word I. I feel this, such and such. They're never using the word, well, you did this, and you did that, and you did this. That's not it. What they want is, I feel like when it's always their perspective. It has to be from their perspective. Everyone has to talk from their perspective. That's really crucial. Even if they're describing something else someone's done, they have to describe it from their perspective, the way that made them feel. Now, that may sound very obvious, but you can spot immediately when it's not happening. So all you have to do is be really on it with that. Just make sure you're like, wait. I want to know how you're feeling about this. I want you to tell me what you are feeling. I want to hear the word I want to hear the word from my perspective. I want to know what you're feeling, okay? Always instinctively, and this will become much more prevalent with what you do. Always prevent and avoid speculation. It's never useful. I'd say it's never useful. I'd say it's mostly never useful. I would say almost always never useful. So this idea that this has happened, someone such has done this, and then that's what's happened. You don't know any of that. The speculation can be endless. It really can. So avoid it and prevent it. Spot it. Avoid it. Prevent it. Okay? Always give both parties equal time without interruption. You remember the communications module we did? This is the listening. Okay? So remember that aspect of it. Everyone gets equal time without interruption. Everyone is listened to fully. All right? Again, always being in the present moment where possible. You're always talking about the here and now, always talking about people's perspectives, how they're feeling, etc., etc. And always cradle and support the entire situation, okay? Take the responsibility, all right? Take the responsibility as the leader for chairing, monitoring, conducting, cradling, holding the whole entire situation. Very, very important. So look, those are some conflict resolution things that I wanted to go through really quickly. So look, we have just got time for a little body scan. This is our last body scan together, so I'm sorry about that, but I'm hoping that you guys have got something from all this, and I'm hoping that you have enjoyed the 6 weeks course. Do please get into that position you get into when you meditate. Again, put your hands together, put them on your thighs like that, so you can get those points of contact going. Again, get your feet nice and flat on the floor so you can feel that sensation. Maybe give your toes a bit of a wiggle inside your shoes. Again, close your eyes down. As you know, you can do this with your eyes open, but it's just much easier to do with your eyes closed. And again, breathe in through your nose and allow your breathing to take control. Allow your breathing to lengthen and allow your breathing to deepen. And allow your breathing to slow. And because we're about to do the body scan, we're going to do the body scan where we hold our attention in each part of our body. So we're not doing the dissolve today. Just check in with those parts of the body that you know to be tense. Perhaps go to your shoulders and willfully and deliberately relax your shoulders. And perhaps go to your hips and willfully and deliberately relax your hips. Again, with your tongue, with your jaw, with any part of your body that you know to be tense, in fact, just willfully and deliberately relax those parts of the body. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to the tips of your toes. And as you breathe in, really hold your attention, really hold your awareness in the tips of your toes. Really allow yourself to feel the breath coming into the boundaries of the body whilst maintaining all of your awareness on your toes. And as you breathe out, you do the same thing. Just hold your awareness, hold your attention on the tips of your toes. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to the tops of your feet, to the soles of your feet, to your ankles and to your heels. And as you breathe in, Just breathe in nice and slowly. Just hold your attention and hold your awareness. And do the same thing when you breathe out. Just hold your awareness and your attention in the tops of your feet, the soles of your feet, your ankles and your heels. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, again, don't let me rush you. Don't let me hold you back. You can totally do this at your own pace. Take all of your attention and all of your awareness to your shins and to your calves. And as you breathe in nice and slowly, nice and deeply. Just maintaining your awareness, regulating your attention in your shins and in your calves. When you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to your knees and to your thighs and to your hips. And really look at these parts of the body like you're seeing them for the first time. Really look at them with the child's eye, with the beginner's mind. Look at everything inside and everything outside. The skin, bone, muscles, tendons, cartilage, everything. And as you breathe in, just hold your attention in your knees, your thighs, your pelvis, and your hips. Really allow yourself to gently breathe in with all of your attention in those places. And really allow yourself to slowly and gently breathe out whilst maintaining your attention in those places. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to your abdomen. Everything inside and everything outside. Intestines, liver, kidneys, all the vertebrae in your lower back. Everything. And as you breathe in, nice and slowly, nice and gently, just maintain your awareness, maintain your attention in those parts of the body. And as you breathe out, do the same thing. Just allow all of your attention and all of your awareness to fall in your abdomen. Everything inside, everything outside. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to your chest. Again, everything inside, everything outside. Lungs, heart, ribs, vertebrae in your back, skin, everything. And as you breathe in, take a nice, long, slow, deep breath and really allow your whole entire chest to completely fill up. And as you breathe out, really maintain your awareness in your chest. And when you're ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, again I say, don't let me rush you, don't let me hold you back. Take all of your attention all of your awareness through the tips of your fingers. And when you breathe in, just allow your whole entire focus to stay on the tips of your fingers. And do the same thing when you breathe out. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to the tops of your hands, to the palms of your hands, and to your wrists, and to the rest of your fingers too. And when you breathe in, just allow all of your attention and all of your awareness to rest gently in those places. And as you breathe out, just maintain that focus. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to your lower arms and to your elbows. And as you breathe in, just allow all of your attention and all of your awareness, your whole cognitive process to rest in those areas of the body. And as you breathe out, do the same thing. And when you feel ready, when you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to your upper arms, to your shoulders, and to your neck. And as you breathe in, allow the breath to gently come in to the boundaries of your body. And allow your focus to gently rest on your upper arms, your shoulders, and your neck. And do the same thing as you take the out breath as well. And let's just take a moment just to enjoy resting our attention and our awareness in the whole entire body, from the neck down to the tips of the toes and the tips of the fingers and everything in between. Just really gently and slowly breathe in and allow your whole entire body to fill up. Allow all of your attention to rest from the neck down to the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, and everything in between. And do the same as you let the out breath go. And when you feel ready, you feel comfortable moving on, take all of your attention and all of your awareness to your eyebrows, your forehead, your eyes, your nose, your lips, teeth, your chin, your cheeks, the sides of your head, the back of your head, the top of your head, your ears, your jaw, your whole entire head, in fact. And as you breathe in, allow all of your attention and all of your awareness to rest in your whole entire head and face. And as you breathe out, just do the same exact thing. Now I'm going to time a really quick 60-second pause. Just allow you to rest your attention in your whole entire body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, and the tips of your fingers, and everything in between. Just nicely and slowly and gently breathing. And maybe use that particle of science and that particle of imagination to really picture your whole entire body breathing, nice and slowly. So here we go, 60 seconds, here we go. Okay, so simply allow yourself to come back to clock time. Let your eyes open softly. You can wiggle your fingers. You can wiggle your toes. You can come back quick. You can come back slow. There's no rush here. And this is it, really. So this is the climax, the end of the 6 workshop Mindful Leadership Online course. I hope you got something from this. I hope you have learned a lot, and I hope you have instigated some sort of daily practice. Again, keep all the messages coming, keep all the questions coming, and I'm very easy to contact. And we hope to see you again sometime soon. And please also, there will be a feedback form coming out today. And as soon as you've filled in that feedback form, you'll be able to get a certificate of completion for this particular course. So once again, thank you so much for taking part. It's very humbling to do this, and it's also always an honor to be able to impart some mindfulness and mindfulness practice. So thank you very much for taking part, and I hope to see you in the future. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.